Welcome to Daily Wisdom from the Flippening podcast. These episodes feature short, to-the-point clips from our full-length interviews. We talk to the men and women behind the trades, crypto exchanges, and regulations with the goal of helping you become a better, more informed investor.
Hi, I'm Mike Kaplan, editor of the Flippening podcast. Today's episode is from a 2019 conversation with Ivan Poon, co-founder and CEO of Switcheo, a decentralized multi-chain crypto exchange. We discuss the mechanics of trading across the Ethereum, EOS, and NEO blockchains, and the pros and cons of working with each. For the full conversation, check out Flippening episode 51. And now without further ado, our conversation with Ivan Poon from Switcheo. Enjoy.
I once listened to an interview with one of the product leaders at Evernote, and they were saying that they have an iOS team, they have an Android team, they have sort of a web-based team, and they don't require consistency across the UIs of these different platforms because each of them kind of have best practices for implementing UI, and that they'd be constraining these teams in a way that kind of, makes for a worse product if they strive for and sort of force consistency across the board. Do you guys have separate teams for NEO, EOS, and Ethereum, or do engineers work across the various blockchains as the need arises?
Kind of. So we have specialists in certain blockchains, but at the end of the day, we are quite a small team. So basically every engineer will know kind of the differences between each of the blockchains. For example, NEO uses UTXOs, Ethereum uses accounts. EOS, it's even more complicated, where you have CPU, RAM, etc. So it's really a yes and no kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'm sure when it comes to the smart contracts that execute these things are probably pretty critical. So you probably need specialists in those areas. But when it comes to a lot of the other functions, it's fine to have generalists or full stack or multi-stack engineers.
Yep.
Are there any kind of pros and cons of the various blockchains that you think are notable in addition to your comment about being able to have the order books on EOS? And are there any other differences like that where you found one, a given blockchain is particularly strong or weak when it comes to decentralized exchanges? And do you see any additional blockchains being added in the future? For example, maybe Tezos, or I don't even know if Binance is going to allow other exchanges to facilitate trades on Binance chain.
That's an excellent question. So basically, I think from an engineering or product kind of a perspective, Ethereum is definitely the leader in the sense that there's a lot of resources you can use. There's a lot of best practices they can use. And it's basically it's easy to find examples to know what to do and what not to do. However, because it's the first and also the most decentralized, so-called, right? It's actually really expensive if you want to do everything on-chain. That's something we've been looking at and working on, especially recently when the Ethereum blockchain is basically working at almost full capacity. Each trade actually can cost a significant amount of network fees. There are many ways to scale or to improve that. And there are many various teams basically involved in Ethereum trying to solve that as well. Yeah, but it is a concern in the short to mid term. Actually, that's one of the next things that we are going to work on, even before we do our final sidechain kind of scaling solution, because that's going to take a couple more months. On the other hand, the more so-called centralized blockchains like EOS and NEO are pretty nice in the sense that it's cheaper at the cost of the users basically having to trust that the blockchains actually will run. I mean, they will succeed and that basically there won't be any Byzantine kind of behavior, right? They do have advantages besides cost as well. For example, in NEO, you can very easily pay the network fee for the user, whereas in Ethereum, it's a lot harder. So what I mean is that when you transfer a token from A to B, you can't have, say, B or even C third party to pay for the transfer, because the Ethereum blockchain is built in a way that assumes that the message sender has to pay for it. And that's one of the things that's hard to work around. And it actually complicates a lot of state channels or off-chain mechanisms by a lot. The way we do order matching off-chain and then settle on-chain is kind of like a state channel architecture. So that's one of the things that NEO and maybe even EOS is good at. Moving on to EOS, it's nice in the sense that it's one of the newest, and therefore it took a lot of good things it took a lot of learnings from Ethereum and NEO. For example, it has a very robust permission structure. It allows different people to pay for different things, even in a single transaction. One thing we realized at the end of the day is that it may have been a bit too complicated for basically general users. For example, just to create an EOS account, you actually need EOS. And then you kind of need to buy it off an exchange or something to just create a wallet, which is a bit counterintuitive for users. And there's a lot of little mechanisms like CPU, RAM, which is a blockchain resource, which is confusing for users. And that's why on Switcheo itself, we abstract a lot of it away, regardless of if you use our Switcheo account feature or if you use your own wallet. That's because we engineered the smart contract in a way that we can pay for the fees, and then we basically take whatever we are spending from the, or we basically add it to the trading fee transparently. So that's good and bad. It's good in the sense that the apps are able to pay for their users and abstract certain things. But if you just present it to the user without any of these abstractions, it's actually quite challenging.
That's it for today. If you like what you heard and want to support the show, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you decide to leave us a review after subscribing, we'll send you a free Nomics t-shirt. Just hit us up on Twitter at username Nomics Finance after you've left the review, and we'll hook you up. You may also be interested in Nomics.com, our crypto market cap and pricing website. Check us out at Nomics.com, spelled Nomics. Now stick around for our legal disclaimer. All opinions expressed by podcast hosts or guests are solely their own opinion and do not reflect the opinion of Nomics or any other company. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be relied upon as the basis for investment decisions. The producers, hosts, and guests of the show may maintain positions in the companies or assets discussed today.